you must believe you are something long before you are, or you must energetically believe you are something long before you are, or you must believe you're something long before the results come.
People are trying to refigure out who they are in Q4, man. Like with the holidays and all that stuff. So, but now that everyone's ramping back up, I feel momentum again, definitely. But I think allow your identity to evolve. Allow your goals and your dreams and your core values to evolve.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode. It was number 1207, the number one lesson we learned in 2022. Today, for episode number 1208, understanding your three identities. Happy Friday. Hopefully you have had a wonderful week. If I sound like a 95-year-old smoker, it's because I am a little bit under the weather and I am not feeling so hot, but I told Alan I'm going to bring the energy because that is what I am here to do. So, understanding your three identities. I had a moment, Alan, this was very, very interesting for me, where I had an actual realization, and this is going to sound, I don't want to say stupid, I don't want to put it that way, but it's going to sound interesting to you. I had an actual realization that I am a podcast consultant, a podcast coach, and I created, quote unquote, a part of the business that makes we'll just say multiple six figures a year as a podcast service company. I don't like to use the word agency. I don't like that. And it was very weird for me. And I'll share this with the listeners too. Alan and I have had a lot of behind the scenes, interesting conversations. I just feel a lot of energetic shifts, not only in myself, but in the people around me and the way that people are looking at us. And I'm very grateful for that. But it's an interesting thing for me where I feel like I've moved into kind of the final identity. So let me frame it. Your three identities. You have the old you, the identity of the old you. What is the past identity? Who were you 5 years ago? What did you believe about yourself? What were your actions? That, right? That's your old identity. What is your identity today? How do you show up? Who do you believe you are? I am the type of person that does blank. And the third one, and I think probably the most important one, is who must I become in order to accomplish what I want in my life? That is your future identity. So I have had a lot of conversations with people, and more often than not, what Alan and I'll say Alan because Alan coaches more on this, is helping people do is figure out, oh, your current identity is not your future identity. All right, cool. How do we shift that? Okay, what do we have to start doing? I feel like I've kind of crossed the chasm into the third one where I do feel like I'm living in my future identity. I do feel like I'm doing more than ever the right things to get to where I want to get. But it starts with understanding inside of me that I feel like I am that type of person. I am the type of person that is a podcast coach now. It's just clicked. I am the type of person that belongs on podcast stages. That's clicked. So I wanted to jump on here as a beginning of the year episode to talk about this because, again, your identity today might not be serving you for the future that you actually want. And until you understand that, you can't really do anything to shift it. If the voice stays, we're going to be good. Well, hey, what do you think about all that? What are your thoughts on all that?
That's when you know it's going to be a good episode, when Kev asked me that. I think that's awesome. I think this is going to be an excellent, excellent episode. I think this is one of my favorite topics in the entire world.
You say that every time.
Not every time.
Almost every time.
All the time.
3 times this week, I think.
That's fair.
The number one lesson we learned was about time. 3 things you need to be doing. Yeah, you went off. The you can't find the solution until you know the real problem. This was a heavy week of this is my favorite, but that's good.
That means you're picking topics that I adore, which I appreciate. So it was circa 1977. No, I'm joking. So Emilia created a digital asset. This is probably, I remember we were sitting on the couch while she was creating this in Canva. And it's a mountain. So picture a digital asset with a mountain. I'll actually give this to our production. I'll give this to Ron. We'll have her put it link in the show notes. And it's a mountain. And there's 3 layers to this mountain. Okay, there's the bottom, the middle, and the top. Fair. The bottom is old world. And old world represents old persons, places, things, and ideas, your old identity, the old things you used to do, the old things you used to believe, for me, I'm thinking about, my childhood and then high school and then college. I had these different identities that leaked into who I was. And this is what happens, right? So James Clear talks about this in Atomic Habits, one of my favorite books. He says, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to become. And so in this mountain with the 3 sections, dotted line, dotted line, dotted line, is old world. And in every movie, every book, every story, every one of our lives, we have this old world. Old persons, places, things, and ideas, old identity, and we get stuck there. And if you think about a movie where someone is stuck in old world, think about any movie, think about your favorite movie. The movie usually opens up with kind of the status quo old world, and then usually there's some form of a trauma. So like Batman, for example, there's his parents get killed in a back alley after, I think, a play or something. But first it shows context, and if you're a filmmaker, you know this, but first you show context of old world. What is old world? What is normal, quote unquote, for this character? Okay, the hero in this story. In this case, it's Bruce, which is Batman. His parents get killed, and then that trauma creates post-traumatic growth. And post-traumatic growth kicks him into what Emilia talks about as Lonely Land. And if you've ever seen the movie Batman Begins, that's what I'm going to reference here. He goes and he lives with... First, he goes and sees what it's like to be a criminal and try to learn the criminal world because he was so privileged or whatever with his father and his family's wealth. And then he goes to, I don't know the name of it, but Liam Neeson's character in the movie, he goes
Ra's al Ghul.
Ra's al Ghul, you know the deal.
I don't know where they go, but it's cold.
It's cold and it's up in the mountains, and he's like learning how to be, martial arts and all that kind of stuff. That's Lonely Land. Lonely Land is the area between old world and new world, aka in this episode, the old identity and the identity you're going to need. Lonely Land is the mucky middle that is just crawling through the mud of, I kind of don't know who the hell I am anymore. Am I a podcaster now? I'm a bodybuilder. I'm a podcast coach, kind of. But you remember those first podcast coaching calls right before them where you're like, who?
Oh,
what am I doing? I've never done this before. I'm going to coach you on podcasting. And I remember the very first conversation we had with Kev about becoming a podcast coach. We were at Froyo. We've told the story before. And you were like, we were talking with one of our friends, Catherine, and she's like, have you ever considered being a podcast coach? And we were talking about it. I remember that. So that was the very beginning of the new idea. So your new identity is at one point just an idea, but you still have your old identity. And then you want these results, and we talk about this in group coaching all the time. You can't want a result out here without also wanting the identity and the process to actually achieve that result. So I digress. 3 dotted lines, mountain. First dotted line section, the bottom of the mountain, is old world, old identity. Second is Lonely Land. This is where you kind of, and people in NLU community kind of understand this, because you kind of don't belong with your old friends, and you try to go back. I went back to old world way too many times just to realize I don't really belong in old world anymore. On the drive home, I'd have these deep thoughts of who am I and should I be? Why don't I get along with them anymore? Why don't we have anything in common anymore? All that kind of stuff. So that's Lonely Land. You kind of don't fit in fully with NLU and these other dream chasers, but you want to, but you definitely don't fit in back there anymore either. That's Lonely Land. And if you can stick with it, if you can keep it up, if you can keep doing the hard things behind the scenes when no one's watching, you can become where Kevin is, which is the new world. And the new world represents aspiration. The new world represents virtues. The new world represents new possibilities, new opportunities, new successes, abundance. The old world represents fear and suppression and ignorance. The Lonely Land represents striving and working hard and grit and resilience and aspiration and getting after it and grinding. The new world represents, oh my God, I did it. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, these are my friends now. This is my new world now. I now live here in this beautiful condo, all that stuff. And then here's what happens. New world eventually becomes old world. Yep. And then you got to do it all over again. Right. And so in 2023, that's the analogy here. 2022 was old world, old persons, places, things, and ideas. 2023 might be lonely land for you, because by the end of 2023, you want to be in the new world, quote unquote. And that new world can look a lot bigger and brighter. This is the last thing I'll share, which is middle school was small. Kevin and I went to middle school together. High school was bigger. And then college, I know, Kev, you didn't go to college, but
I partied. I partied a couple times.
Been on campus. Been on campus.
I've been on campus.
Big man on campus.
Wow.
And then you go to college and it's an even bigger world. And then you go into the world and it's way bigger, right? So first it's like, okay, how do I learn how to succeed in middle school? How do I learn? Okay, popular kids, okay, nerds, okay, jocks, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Who do I fit in with? Where am I? Who am I? And then it's like, as soon as you figure it out, boom, high school. Oh no. Oh no. I got sent a picture. My sister was a senior when I was a freshman in high school. And at one of the dances, I was dancing with her friend Lauren. And my mom sent me a photo of me and Lauren dancing. I was literally like prepubescent little red-faced blonde kid dancing with like one of the cutest senior girls, right? And it was just like, I just remember that was such a dark time for the kid. But anyways, so then you get plopped into high school and you got to figure that out. Okay, now what sports and school and okay, new teachers, new world. Then you get thrown into college or right into the world. And so it can be really challenging. And really what happens is you kind of have an identity crisis every time. I remember when I went from high school to WPI, Worcester Polytechnic Institute, I went from the physics award math nerd straight A's to literally like all of the math geniuses of the globe, like condensed into one area. And I remember I had like an actual identity crisis. I was like, oh my God, I'm not the smart kid anymore. And that was really hard to rise from. And now I've actually since spent a lot of time with some of my friends back then, and now I've grown. So you grow and you grow and you grow and you grow. But this is a process that never ends. And even when you were telling that story, Kev, I remember thinking to myself like, yeah, well, this part clicked, but I can't wait for whatever that next identity is going to be, because that next lonely land is coming for sure. I just don't know what it is yet.
Next Level University and Kevin is exactly where you need to be if you're a podcaster. When I first started out just a few months ago, I had no clue on the direction I was going. I was getting hustled by another company that was giving me not even close to the value that Kevin and Next Level U was giving me. They literally changed the trajectory of my podcast, have helped me out tremendously. They understand the clients. I promise you, you will not go wrong with dealing with Kevin and Next Level U. I'll see you there.
Well, I think it's one of those, you hear a lot of people say, fake it so you make it. And I think they're trying to say this in the simplest form is you must believe you are something long before you are, or you must energetically believe you are something long before you are, or you must believe you're something long before the results come. And I think that's kind of what I'm feeling in this moment is and I also think get rid of fake it and put in break it. Break it till you make it. Don't fake it till you make it. Break it. Just keep breaking shit until you get to the point where you've actually taken all the broken pieces and put it together into something great. The goal of this, when I was thinking of this episode, I wanted it to be like a vulnerable understanding that I just feel more empowered and I feel more confident in a lot of the stuff that I'm doing. Again, I still am down. I still get broken. I still get beat up in my day-to-day life. So it's not like hey, everything's great. We made it. We don't have to do any more work. I definitely don't feel that. But I do feel a new energetic backing is what I'll say. I don't know. My identity just feels a little bit different. I am a podcaster. I am a podcast coach. I am a podcast consultant. You know why I think that's interesting for me I don't think I ever felt like a peak performance coach or like a mindset coach. I don't think I ever really identified as that. I think I did that because it was something that I was pretty good at, all things considered, but it wasn't a 10 out of 10 for me. Where the podcast coaching is, like, that's what I want to be. And I remember saying this. I think I used to want to get to the point where I was coaching high level athletes on mindset. Then I remember having a conversation with my buddy, and I said, honestly, that's not what I want. I think it sounded cool, and I think it helped me, point in a direction, but that's not what I want. I don't want that. That's not what I want to do. I thought that's what I wanted at the time. I want to do podcasts with high level athletes. Sure. You want to start a podcast? Cool. I want to get to the point where we have a full carpentry team that'll come out and build your podcast studio and do all the electric and all the lighting and all the camera and the microphones. That's what I'm playing for. I want that. But that has changed as my identity has changed. So that was the goal in this episode. I want it to be, and I think it's hard for me to be vulnerable when I'm not feeling well because I'm just not, my state's off a little bit. But I want you to know that if you sense any energetic shift lately in Alan and I, it's because of this, for me at least.
What locked it in? I know we got to go, but what locked it in for you?
I think maybe going down to Florida to do this podcast panel. I told you this, Alan. I told the team this too. So I had a call with the speaker liaison. Liaison, such a cool word. I always smile when I say it. For this event. And we had a Zoom call, and she said, I'm going to connect you with the people via email, and then we'll figure out next steps. And she never sent the email. And I was like, oh no, maybe she didn't like me or, whatever it is. And so I emailed her and I said, hey, just wondering, I want to make sure that I follow up so we have enough time to take next steps, whatever. And she said, oh my goodness.
Kev messaging back a girl in middle school.
Oh yeah. So, hey, did you?
Hey,
no, I know I told you. I know I told you where my house was, but I don't know if I actually said it's in Massachusetts. It's in Uxbridge, Massachusetts. Did I say that? No, actually, no. This is actually where it is. Let me take a picture. Yeah, that was brutal. But so when I sent her the email, she responded and said, oh my goodness, I completely forgot. I'm a mess right now. I have notes all over my desk. Can you remind me what we had talked about? And I was like, oh no, that's how forgettable I am. She completely forgot about what we talked about. So I sent her a message back and said, yeah, this is what we talked about. And she's like, oh yes. I just found all my stuff. Yeah, we're super excited to have you. And I'm going to connect you with the head of that panel. Also, I want to connect you with this person to see what other opportunities there are available. And like, for me, that usually doesn't happen. It usually doesn't happen where it goes I'll say doors open that quickly for me. That's rare for me. So I think energetically, it's like, oh, interesting. Okay. So somebody's actually seeing the potential, not necessarily my value, but the potential value I can bring. So that's just a different energetic thing for me.
Pretty cool.
I dig it. I will be humbled every day. It's not like not like we're done by any stretch of the imagination, but so much, in fact, where I've already planned for that in my head, to your point. It's like, I know we're on an emotional high right now. I know that. That's good. But like the winter or the dark night or whatever, the dent in the car, that's coming. That's
sure.
Just human nature. So make sure
we're coming off of a tough couple months too.
That's true, yeah.
Genuinely. I was telling Kevin just behind the scenes, I know we got to go. Everything is seasons. I do like that analogy. I really do. It's important. Spring, summer, winter, fall. Spring, summer, fall, winter.
Summer, fall, winter.
Yeah, there you go. We're coming off of an emotional winter, but also a little bit of a winter in terms of at the tail end, Q4, people are trying to refigure out who they are in Q4, man. Yeah. Like with the holidays and all that stuff. So, but now that everyone's ramping back up, I feel momentum again, definitely. But I think allow your identity to evolve. Allow your goals and your dreams and your core values to evolve. It's so interesting for you to talk about. I remember having conversations with you about wanting to be a peak performance coach for like professional athletes. And it's like, now I can't even imagine you doing that.
I don't want to.
like a defensive lineman or something. Hey,
yeah.
Jeff, how are you? Like, you got to really get in there.
You're like a foot and a half taller than me. You weigh 200 pounds more than me. It's like, why don't you get it together, man? What are you being soft?
Why don't you get it together, man?
No, it does. That's not for me. Not for me.
But what's interesting is you needed that direction to actually get the clarity. It's kind of like driving in a foggy night. You can't see around the bend until you actually. So you need to have goals. You need to shoot somewhere.
Yeah.
Got to shoot somewhere, and then you learn about yourself, and then you readjust. It really, and it's an infinite game. We're not done.
No.
This identity that's locked in, I guarantee you, will have an identity crisis, a mini identity crisis, in a couple weeks or months or whatever, and there'll be something else that shakes you, but not in a bad way. I think that it's the phoenix. You burn down, and then your old identity burns down. And then the phoenix rises from the ashes, and that new phoenix is the new transformed version of you. And then the whole process happens over and over and over again, and that's why, I mean, if you think about even just going back to the Batman movies, there's 3 movies. So, the phoenix burns down in the beginning, and then he rises from those ashes and then conquers the villain. And then there's a second movie with a bigger villain. And then a third movie with and so this is an infinite game. And the reason these movies and stories resonate is because it's our own lives. It's our own lives. We have to overcome our own fears. We have to overcome our own ego. We have to overcome suppression and fear and villains. And, we have to achieve these things. So that's awesome. It was a good one.
I thought you'd enjoy it. Again, you never know where the episode is going to go, but I'm grateful it went the places that it did.
Batman Begins.
Yeah, I'm going to throw something.
It's a great movie.
I'm going to throw something in Next Level Nation. If you're not Next Level Nation, get in Next Level Nation, because I am going to throw something in Next Level Nation that is my representation of when Alan tells stories about movies. And it's going to be the funniest thing ever of all time. So if you're not in Next Level Nation, get there. If you are, keep a lookout for it. Alan, when is Next Level Live 2023?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
oh my
April
goodness.
1st.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, brother.
You're welcome.
All right, April 1st, 2023, Next Level Live. If you enjoy these episodes, that's like listening to your favorite song on Spotify, assuming we're your favorite podcast, which I hope we are.
See?
This is like the concert. Come to the concert. 50 people, only 50 tickets. We have a really nice room. When you go to the landing page, the link will be in the show notes. When you go to the landing page, all the information is there. You'll see photos. You'll see a video from the last one. Such a good video. I think we're like 83 days out. It's only $97 per ticket. Book your ticket immediately. Join us. It's going to be awesome. And if you enjoy this podcast and this podcast is changing your life for the better, imagine what meeting all of the community in person is going to be like.
Next Level Nation tomorrow for episode number 1209. It'll be a Saturday. Why is what's important to you important to you? That's a deep title. It'll be a deep episode, I'm sure, but I'm very excited for it. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
And we will see you at the next level.